On today's live stream, guys, I got an amazing guest. Not only a doc, but these guys become friends of mine, right? But Dr. Matt Messoline, I hope I said that name right at the end there, Matt. Please correct me if I didn't. Who is a busy a family medicine doc, a busy husband, busy father, former Navy vet, an avid golfer, an avid real estate investor who had plateaued for years, tried many different protocols for weight loss and could not drop the weight. He decided to join our program, the Dr. Fit coaching program, and went on to lose a whopping 34.8 pounds. Amazing, within 16 weeks. Woo, clap it up for this guy, guys. And he has not felt better than this in over 20 years, he said. So I'm excited to bring his story and turn it over to him. He'll tell us a little bit about himself. Yeah, so Matt, man, amazing. Thank you for being on, man. I know the rest of the docs in the group are going to benefit from this. And really, man, you've been amazing, not only as a client of ours, but just a colleague and a comrade to the rest of the guys in our group, too. And so they thank you. I thank you. Muhammad thanks you for being such a huge part of our program and just doing amazing, man. So we would love to find out a little bit more about you, man. Like, did I miss anything? Can we add anything on to your personal background? Did I say your last name right? And let me know what was life like before joining the program. I guess we can start there.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, Navy vet, got out in 2013, was already a little bit overweight for the standards there. I would get tape measured towards the end of my career and, couldn't lose weight as fast as I used to be able to kind of get back to that standard I needed to get to for the qualifiers and the evaluations. And then had our first child. They were about a year old when I got out, did a little bit of care at home until I could start my new job where I am now in San Diego. And I think, just kind of slowly had this build like, oh, I put on 5 pounds. Well, I can get rid of that. It's another 5 more. Well, that was just because of vacation. Hey, we did a Disney cruise when my kids were like 5 and 2 years old. Oh, okay. Well, it's just because of the cruise, that type of stuff. And there just kept being this point, like you said, that I could no longer practice what I preached because I was definitely on the wrong side, kind of looking back in. And so in terms of what I had tried before, it was a lot of just, try to eat a little bit less here, try to exercise more, try to find the willpower, where's the time of day you're going to have your workouts done, and not really having a plan. And I think that was the biggest thing with the program is like, here's a plan, here's a promise, right? In terms of we're going to keep you accountable. And then as the results start coming in, it was easy not easy to stick to. Obviously there's work involved, but I've said this in our chats, the scale win is the benefit, right? Oh, what happens if you skip on that cookie? Well, if I see my weight's down 0.5 pound the next day, I feel great about it, right? Or I'd never drank more than 100 ounces of water in my life. I can pretty much guarantee that hadn't happened before. That was a huge change for me, and it felt like a chore. Now I love drinking water. I do that all the time. And so that's, there's just different things that kind of changed. And I'm a big Tony Robbins guy too, like limiting beliefs and how to get past those. And this was, just a way of kind of we're coaches as physicians to our patients, right? The patients have to go out and execute. Same principle applies to what we're in here. I think we can relate pretty well. And a lot of us are high achievers. We want to have that success, whether it's financially, whether it's socially, whether it's in our fitness and our health and well-being. And so it just kind of helps complete that well-rounded picture for us as providers, which I was only more than happy to see the positive results and kind of buy into the program.
Matt, awesome, man. And thank you for sharing that. So just to backtrack a little bit, you said nearly 20, you feel better and you're down more weight than you were 20 years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah. In the military, you have a need to do personal fitness tests, but you basically do that twice a year. They call it a 3-miler club. In the Navy, you're going to run 1.5 miles in the spring, and you're going to run 1.5 miles in the fall. That's for evaluation time. All you got to do is get under a certain time period. Maybe do a little running leading up to it, but there wasn't like a dedicated plan just because of maybe some of the volatility in terms of where you're going. I'm on a ship, or I'm at a hospital, or I'm in a forward location for a little bit. You got to kind of actively make plans to keep your routine in place, both diet and exercise. And that just didn't happen even when I was in the military. As an officer, as a doctor, it's more like, well, I'm here to do the work. I'm here to take care of patients. Yes, the fitness comes as part of the requirement, but it's not heavily emphasized.
Got it, man. And so just to like back up there, right? So like that's a long time. Were you actively trying to lose weight for that long? And you kind of, kind of took it for granted, like you said, 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there, just started adding up on the scale. But like, was it 20 years like you kind of tinkered with, different things and, or has this been something new that you're like all of a sudden, I need to get myself in shape? And what is that like, right? Well,
Yeah,
why now?
believe it or not, it was fairly new. I mean, I tinkered with intermittent fasting and again, just kind of limiting carbs. I did do my Fitness Pal carb, calorie counting right before my wedding, and when was that? 2009. And so I was trying to kind of fit into that tux and do all that type of stuff, and was able to drop a little bit of weight there, but boom, right back in, right? Like just no further execution after that. And that was even having some accountability partners on the ship when I was deployed, which led up to
Mm,
my time for the wedding. So yeah, I don't think I just didn't really have a plan. I mean, I think you contend for some of the things, like I said, like you mentioned, we're doing real estate. We have to have plans and contingencies for everything that we do for that. Scheduling our children's activities, even trying to find time to go out and do recreational stuff like golf, trying to include family members in some of the activities and organizing that whole process. That stuff we're all pretty well organized in, and just the diet and the lack of education that we get in medical school and beyond clearly shows itself with what we see now with even us as providers becoming overweight and obese too.
got it, man. I got some questions here. One right from our own Dr. Muhammad Hamuda, man.
Yeah.
He's still tuning in. Hey, man, we love you, man, tuning in, even though you're supposed to be relaxing, but I guess you're just chilling. Hopefully you're eating some fat-free, no butter, no salt popcorn, man, while you're watching this, huh? Hey, Muhammad, so let us know. Matt, he is asking, what limited beliefs do you think you had before starting the program?
I think for me, like there was always like thresholds. When I got to 220 for my weight, I was like, oh, well, I can get below that. And then I kind of got stuck where I couldn't get below that. Okay, I'm never going to get below 220. So I'm going to live somewhere in the 220s going forward, which again, BMI was now closer to 28 or 29 at that point. Then I got above 230 and I couldn't drop below 230, even with, I would do these like Jillian Michael workouts that were, at home, 30 minutes, mostly body weight stuff. And they were pretty strenuous, but they didn't result in any kind of weight loss. So I was like, oh crap, now I'm stuck at 230. And then, there's times where I got very close to 240, off of vacations and stuff like that, where I ultimately was just like, this is not right. And honestly, your guys' advertisement came out at a good time. I was trying to train for the Spartan race I did in June, and had been actually working with a Tony Robbins coach who said, you need to go out and find a coach for the activities. So I'm doing obstacle course training with a gym here in San Diego. And then you need to find a coach for the diet and the health and wellness aspect. And that was you guys. You guys came at the perfect time for that. And it really helped me accomplish all the goals I wanted to achieve with that stuff. And I'm educated now for the rest of my life with something that I think is simple and easy to implement. And you're not going back, which I think is the most hopeful thing about it. You can see the future and it looks a lot brighter.
Awesome, man. So there, do you feel like our goal is to make you feel empowered, right? That you don't have to do these fad diets and, do these extreme protocols like never eat carbs again, or, continue to skip meals if that's not your thing, like intermittent fasting. And nowadays it's like semi-glutides and, it's all types of like, how do I do this sustainably? Do you feel and are confident that you can do this sustainably for the rest of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know because we have people in our program that are in their 60s that are doing it, just as well as I am. So I know that it's not, oh, my metabolism slowed down, so I gotta account for a little extra padding here and a little extra padding here. You don't, once you see that those thresholds you cross and those breakthroughs that happen, it's just very optimistic going forward. And I mean, I think we try to bring that to our patients' lives, like, hey, I can show you a better way forward. in terms of your health and well-being, but you got to commit to it. You got to be in touch with me. You got to give me results that I can follow, and I can coach you on where to modify things. And honestly, this is no different. But when we try to seek out, even in our program here in my medical group, like our nutrition sources are they're not accountable week to week dietitians that you follow. It really is more like, here's a couple of handouts, try to keep it within these goals and good luck. And there's not a lot of follow up for that. And that's unfortunate. So I see it on my end where we do prescribe semaglutides, and we do some of the oral medications to try and help people see that positive benefit. Maybe they're really good with the physical activity, they're just not doing well with the diet part, whether it's a binge eating disorder or something else that they're having that they just need to see they have control over. It's like, here's how we kind of re-exert some of that control over those situations. And for some people it's great, like we talked about in some of the lectures. There's lots of side effects too, so you got to take the good with the bad in those cases.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and our whole thing is what we try to tell everyone is there is a sustainable way, right? Even with semaglutides, as you doctors that are clinically prescribing this have mentioned many times, and it's the only really sustainable way. Even on a semaglutide, what do you have to fix? Your nutrition, right?
Your intake, right? Yep.
Yeah, your intake, your nutrition, and now, protein even more so because of some of the things that are happening with, the atrophy of the muscle loss that,
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, patients experiencing, right? So it comes back to nutrition again and exercise, right? And it's not about grueling exercise, right?
Absolutely
not. Do any more exercise than you were already doing. Matter of fact, sometimes I tell my docs, you're doing too much, right?
Overtraining, right? Yeah, some people can kind of get a little too overzealous.
Absolutely. Overtraining, it can be a detriment to, somebody's weight loss and perhaps even health if it's done, incorrectly. So, and I think a lot of us men, not just docs, but men in general, we tend to really push strongly on the emphasis of exercise. Like, I got to get back like I was, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Was that your mindset too, Matt? Like, were you trying to train it off, so to speak, the weight, or what was going on with you?
Because I would
getting
agree
ready for a Spartan race.
Yeah, my mindset was more the physical activity will bring it off. Now, I know as a physician that diet makes the most impact, but I had tried little things here and there, and it wasn't like, amazing results. So I was like, okay, well, then maybe I just need to increase the exercise to build the muscle mass base, and that will in turn, increase my metabolic burn. And you can kind of play around with a bunch of different theories, but there's not really one dedicated plan. And when there's limited success, or not someone who says trust the process, you're going to bail pretty fast, right? Like, I think that's just human nature, that you're going to create buy-in to expect a certain amount of results, and if that doesn't materialize within a certain time frame, you're just going to say, I'm out. And so that partakes over to things like real estate too, right? You can look at numbers, and if it just doesn't make sense, you're going to say, I'm walking from this deal. There's all that stuff is applicable in life, and this is no different. But this is a sound, like you mentioned, non-rigorous workouts. I tell people now when I'm talking about the semaglutide discussion, hey, listen, we can talk about that, and there are certain requirements that insurance is going to need before you can get that covered. But let me tell you what I'm doing, because I'm getting lots of comments now when I come in, like, whoa, what happened to you? And they'll even accuse me, like, are you on Ozempic? Are you on Ozempic? And I say, this is without any supplements. I take 0 supplements except a vitamin D gummy. And nothing that you don't already have, for the most part, in your pantry or kitchen that you can do this with. Like, it's not that complex. It feels like it's got to be some earth-breaking thing, but it really is. Understand your body, like you talked about the early stages, training your gut. I have so many resolved gut issues now because of this, that I'm so much happier off in terms of how I function day to day, and I'm not a prisoner to my own, stomach symptoms, whether it's reflux or irritable bowel syndrome or that type of stuff.
So those all cleared up, huh, Matt?
Yeah, I have snoring, acid reflux. I asked my wife again the other day, like, am I still snoring at all? She said, nope. No snoring whatsoever. Boom, done, gone.
Hey, we're making a happier marriage there, man.
Hey, listen, if I can stay in the bedroom, same bed, that's okay. That's okay with me. So.
Absolutely. Any other benefits do you see as far as weight? I mean, you dropped nearly 40 pounds, right? So It's like, what did that feel like on your body? And let's tackle that race? You know, you were doing the Spartan race, man. What do you think you would have felt if you were 35 pounds heavier doing a Spartan race? Like, can you talk about that?
I mean, I can tell you for sure the overhead obstacles, I would have failed over half of them easily. Like I went to this obstacle course gym in April, right before my golf trip. Um, and you know, I was like, well, I'm really worried about the rope climb. That was the only thing I was quote unquote worried about. But I knew like monkey bars would be hard and other stuff too. And so it's like, well, let me show you the technique for the rope climb. So I hop up on and I lock my feet out and I can stand on my feet. But then I got realized I got to hoist my body weight up with my hands, and I'm like, there is no way I can lift myself more than one phase up on this thing. And they're like, oh well, we'll get you there. And I'm just like, okay, something's got to give because there's no way I'm gonna scurry up a 15, 18-foot rope at the current weight I'm at. Not gonna make it across bars with one arm swings. My shoulders are not gonna take that. I've done throwing sports in my life, and I know when my shoulders are a little bit toast sometimes, but in the end, like I did my first race when I was down 15 pounds and I cleared every obstacle, every overhead. This last race I did when I was right around the 35-pound mark. And there was only 2 I couldn't do. I need to work on my pull-ups and stuff. I'm going to start doing some more of that. But other than that, I just felt really, really good and really confident about that. I'm standing on that rope, I'm holding that rope, and I'm like, I am not slipping and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to shimmy up this thing. So
amazing job, man. I mean, and it's not like you're 25. You're doing this at 45, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, dude, how did that hit, man? Like 45 years old, able to do these, what we used to consider mud runs, right?
Yeah.
These obstacle courses, there's a lot of cardio involved, and you're killing it, man. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough because there's peer pressure. Right? I live in San Diego. There's a lot of healthy looking dads out here. They surf all day and they work from home, so they kind of pick their schedules about when they can do exercise. And I don't know what they eat. I'm sure they eat like California burritos and stuff, but they're just in it all the time, doing all sorts of physical activity. I camp out with a bunch of dads. I take my daughter on campouts. I take my son on campouts with the YMCA, and yeah, there's some really fit guys. And I'm like, well, why can't that be me, right? Like I've done military, I've done sports, I've done all this other stuff. Like I should be able to do this. And by the way, I also coach people on their health in the sense as a doctor. So,
right.
why not this type of aspect? And there just wasn't a lot of optimism in that direction until this program came along.
Awesome, man. So, Matt, you mentioned Tony Robbins, and a lot of times we look at it, and I think you talked about coaching in real estate, right? Like, and you as being a coach, like Tony Robbins, and when you were doing that coaching, they advised you to get a coach. Like, what can you say of doing this on your own as opposed to hiring a coach and doing it, with an accountability partner? Like, can you speak on that?
Yeah, you have to be educated, right? Like Tony Robbins, the big thing for him is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You go find an expert in your field, absorb as much information from them as possible, and you already have a head start going forward. In some ways, it's kind of like Wikipedia now. Like, okay, you want to learn about Alexander the Great, go to Wikipedia, spend 30, 45 minutes, you know everything you know about that person in their historical perspective, and now you have the information to go forward and do something else that you want with that. So on the diet and exercise side, it was, hey, listen, you think you know what you're doing, or you're going to try all these new wacky things to try and make that happen. But listen to someone who's done it. You mentioned your credentials for decades. Why not look at that as your guide, going forward? And again, I'm here to tell you guys, I'm not perfect with my diet, but I do stick. Like the water is a non-negotiable for me. All these things are, I try to have my non-negotiables, and then there are times where I have my little, maintenance phase, let's call it, where I don't lose weight, and then I get back on it and I get back down. So,
I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, and I think that real quick, Matt, just on that point, like you learn, a lot of docs and a lot of my guys, they think like, well, I know what to do, but the problem is they really don't, right? If they did, they would be there by now, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just saying, hey, look, you got a coach for everything else. If you're turning the wheels, chasing your tail month after month, year after year, it's going to change, right?
Yeah.
So learning from a perspective of how can you eat whole foods completely across all boards is, I think, empowering. And that's the biggest part of the program is you don't have to get rid of any food group. You just have to learn what works for your body. And that's what we want to empower you guys as, you know, with the knowledge of what works for your body doesn't necessarily work for the other person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of these, you know, unfortunately, and I say this to the docs that are, you know, sometimes on our calls asking some questions. I'm like, well, if you knew what to do, you'd be there by now,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So sometimes it's just taking a step back and realizing, hey, maybe I do need somebody to tell me what to do,
Yeah.
right?
I
Just
mean,
like Tony Robbins said.
Mohammed's lecture on April 9th said exactly that. He's like, you know what to do. So why are you not doing it? You know what I mean? Like he just said, there's that plate, there's that cookie that someone brought in, there's that brownie. You know, you're gonna eat, you're gonna live to eat, not eat to live, right? You're gonna just say, okay, when's my next meal? When's my next meal? How do I plan this out? But you're not thinking about the fuel you put in your body to actually physically go out and live and do the things you want to do. Like my kids are getting older. My son is almost 9. My daughter just turned 12. They are going to be, and they're in, you know, good shape. Like they are going to be physically active. I want to keep up with them. I don't want to be the person who's just like, oh, I'd love to go riding bikes with your son, but you know how it hurts my back or my whatever. Like I want to be active for them, and I want to set a good example too. And like you put it in the post, man. The other day I was riding my bike with my son. I'm coasting down the hill faster than he is. I'm not pedaling. He's like, how do you do that? And I was about to say, well, I'm fat. And he goes, don't say you're fat because you're kind of ripped. And he was like, and I was just like, whoa, like he threw me off when he said that. So that was it. I was like, thanks, bud. Like, you know,
Absolutely,
like,
man. I mean, if
yeah.
everybody sees you before and now after,
Yeah.
they think, man, you're
Yeah,
like,
that hit me, and I mean, big old smile on my face for sure. So
do you feel like now you're the role model that you want to be as maybe a dad, as a father figure, as a husband? How's that play into your life at this
yeah, I
point?
mean, listen, like we talked about the pull-up thing. I'm planning to put the pull-up bar in my garage. You know, when my son gets older and wants to start working out and exercise, and I'm like, hey, listen, man, I want to be there with you. I want to do this stuff with you and help you kind of get to where you want to go for your athletic performance. And then, you know, on the outside too, right? Like talking, you know, there's a couple of docs that I've worked with in the real estate realm where, you know, the topic comes up, well, how are you doing this right now? And I think even they've reached out to you to kind of hear about the program. But just saying, hey, listen, this is no bull. This is straight up, you know, a plan that's in place. I feel sustained with it. I've replaced things that I thought I would miss, like boba tea or, you know, Starbucks frappuccinos. I found replacements for those that taste great, and I still get what I need out of it. I don't have to just go straight for the sugar, and I don't even do the caffeine. You know, it's just the flavor itself that I'm looking for to replace something that I feel like I might have missed. And you can ask
Awesome.
people in my office, like I have the worst sweet tooth here. I know where all the candy drawers are. And I would be in there back and forth like 10, 15 times. Even when I had that first intake call with Mohammed, I said, I am a snacker. And I justify, well, that's not that many calories. But when you add it all up, it added up. You know, it added up. You need accountability.
Absolutely, man. As we wrap up here, man, I just one last question I think that's on my mind. And Mohammed had brought this up and mentioned this to me. He said, when you guys were on a call and you were just finding out about our program, right? And you had the call with Mohammed himself, right? You had mentioned that, you know what, man, I spent a lot of money in my, you know, real estate investing.
Mm-hmm.
And you were really debating, like, financially, is this something that I want to do right now?
Yeah.
But you obviously ended up doing it. And we get this a lot. You know,
Yeah.
we get a lot of docs kind of putting health on the back burner. But then
Yeah.
they're, you know, building for this life, building for the careers, building for the families. But
Yeah.
the health is taking, you know, a back seat. So what was that driving factor for you to say, you know what, because you did mention it to Mohammed, that you did have that moment where you're like, man, you know what, I'm spending a lot on my investments and
Mhm.
stuff, right? And
Absolutely.
you know, what was the turning point where you said, you know what, let's do it?
Yeah, there's almost a point. So I consulted with my wife, right? It's a financial decision, and it's, you know, it's not small, but it's, you know, in the end, like you mentioned, it's an investment. Like if you're going to invest something in your lifetime, why would you not invest in yourself? You know, it's not a selfish reason that we're doing this, right? I want to be around for my kids. I want to be around for my spouse. I want to be around for my friends and family. And I want to be around for my patients. I have over 2,000 patients I take care of, you know, on my panel. So it is a sizable portion of people that I am responsible for their health. And I want them to walk in the door and see, hey, Messoline's doing it. I know he's busy. He answers all my questions through emails, and he makes time for me for appointments, and he writes my refills and prescriptions. You know, how is he doing this? I'm going to go ahead and, you know, ask him a little more about that. I want to be a good example for that. But all credit to my wife. I had a chat with her. I almost want her to say no, just so I have some other, it's not me, Mohammed, saying no. It's my wife. Just can't spend the money. And in the end, she's like, "Listen, I support you. If you think there's something you want to go for, then go for it." And I was like, "Okay, cool, let's do it." And Mohammed said, "Listen, you're kind of giving me this waffly language, and you're not quite sure what you want to do. You say, oh, it'd be nice if I lost 15 pounds. It'd be nice if I, could get healthier. But like, I want you to have firm language." And he really spoke to me kind of like how Tony Robinson would be. It's like, you have a goal, you're going for it. How are you going to execute? And it applies to sports. It applies to investing. You don't go into this trying to make a dumb decision. You go in researched, and you go in with a certain mindset in mind and a goal in mind, and that's ultimately what leads to success afterwards.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. Any of you guys that are thinking, what should I make health a priority? Well, Matt just summed it up for you. I mean, it's the umbrella for everything else. So I will even say this and leave with this, Matt, that we do need to be a little bit selfish. And that's not a bad thing. If we're not selfish and we don't take care of ourselves, how can we be, like you said, the best provider, the best, doctor, the best husband, the best, father, right? Yeah. How can you do all these things? How can you be the best role model if you don't take a look back and say, hey, you know what? If something, God forbid, happens to my health, or I'm not able to do my job, or, I get stricken with disease, what good is any of that then? Like, is you're going to sacrifice a lot on the other end where, everything I mentioned.
And the beauty of it is that there's a part that's going to feel automatic at some point for just the health part. So now my focus has gone back to getting home on time, getting my work done in the office. Yeah, I got to document my food. I got to make sure I fill up my water bottle. Like, big deal. I take sips during the day. I just follow along with my stuff there. Like, I kind of know how much, I got to eat of a certain type of food to kind of balance out my, my protein or my carbs, my fat. And it just goes from there. Like, I know I'm a little heavy on carbs right now, but I'm going to have some protein later, and I'm going to be able to balance that out. So, and then it's all about this, man. This is, this stuff right here. I got the hardware.
Nice.
This is, what felt really good. And honestly, talk about limiting beliefs. I'm damn close to signing up for that 20K in Phoenix in November.
Let's do it, man. Let's see if we can get some other doctors on board with you.
I'm already doing research on nutrition, race nutrition. That's where I think I faltered a little bit this time around, but I'm going to basically get the overhead strength exercises going. And
nice. Awesome. Well, I've helped a lot of people in these runs, man. So yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously you're still part of our group and part of our community. So bounce back ideas from us, man. As we wrap up, any doc that is on the fence, man, is thinking, do I want to invest in my health? Do I want to get, what would you say to them if they're procrastinating their decision to get moving, man? What would you say to those docs as we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, two simple things are: one, why not? And two is, like Nike says, just do it. There's no better feeling than having a new sense of control over your health and well-being going forward. Like, I mean, obviously, if I was on blood pressure meds or cholesterol meds, my cholesterol has dropped 30 plus points, with this program. But if I was on those medicines, these are things I could probably get off or get the doses way, way down just off of what I've accomplished alone with this system. And it's not anything that I think is extreme. And I do day-to-day health coaching with patients on a consistent basis: obesity, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol. And this is stuff I'm talking with people about in terms of, a pathway forward for them.
Awesome, man. And you're now a doc that's practicing what they preach, man. And that's what we ultimately wanted.
It feels really good to say that.
Yeah. When me and Mohammed formed this alliance, man, and we wanted to help you guys out. And a lot of this information is all free inside the group, guys. Go check it out. And if you need additional help and you want to, accelerate your weight loss and you don't feel like, figuring it out on your own and piecing the stuff together, raise a hand, and let us know. We can just jump on a call and see if it's a good fit for you, if we can possibly help you out. But guys, don't not do anything. The biggest killer in life, and I used this for 25 years, Matt, the biggest killer in life, when I ask somebody, what do you think that is? Of course, they go down, especially for you docs, you're going to go down maybe cardiovascular disease, blah, blah, blah. But it's procrastination, right? It's my own thing. Like I came up with it. It's because, think about it, anything that we possibly are delaying, we're procrastinating moving forward in that health, right? So it's that procrastination is the biggest killer in life, man. And anything we do, even our goals, if it's financial, maybe one day I'll get into that new business, right? So guys, don't procrastinate this decision. It's huge, whether you decide to join, forces with us, or whether you do it on your own or find a coach. Just get out there and start moving, start eating right. It's not that hard. You just got to be able to implement and have good coaches on your side,
Yep.
and be able to take you through it. Guys, if that's you and you feel like that you need help, please raise a hand, send us a message, send us a private DM. We'd love to jump on a call, find out if and how we can possibly help. Thank you, Matt. Again, you're an inspiration to the rest of the community. Please continue to obviously, help these docs out, man. We all need that encouragement. And you've been there, done that. And you're like, I think you said you want to squeeze out an extra 4 pounds, but that's about it. You're done. So, you can tell these guys that, your journey and be able to spread that forward, So thanks a lot again,
Thank
Matt.
you to you and Mohammed for really showing me a way forward. I mean, honestly, the education is on it has no price tag to it because of the carryover going forward. Everybody that's out there saying, I'm going to do this and start losing weight. Like Mohammed said before, if you lost weight, gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, did you ever really lose that weight? No, you didn't. You went right back to where you were. So it doesn't count.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, I'm about to hire you, Matt, but I can't afford you, buddy. So
I'll brand ambassador. I'll give me some gear. I'll do it for free.
Thanks, man. All right, docs. Until next time. Thanks a lot again, Matt. We will talk to you next week when we see you on the next live stream. Thanks, man.
Sounds good. Thanks all.
Bye-bye.